I did it. Hi. Hey, Tina, and hi, Vicky. I am so excited that you guys are joining me today. So let's go ahead and get started. Bettina, I see that you purchased the Maggie Malone 5500 Quilt Blocks book. That is so exciting. And I'm sure you saw that a lot of the blocks are not AccuQuilt friendly, but that's okay because the blocks that are AccuQuilt friendly, there's a lot for us to work with. So I'm so excited for you. Hey, so excited. Okay, ladies, let's get started. So for today's video, I wanted to, or today's live, today is, what in the world is today? July the 28th of 2024, and it is like 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So yes, it's live. I was doing some homework on YouTube and discovered some older videos where some of the AccuQuilt owners were marking their dies. And I thought, this is a very interesting topic. Like, why are they doing that? And so in today's live, I want to go over a little bit of the history and bring you up to date to 2024. So my name is Tammy. I am the personality behind Tammy's Stitches. So let's get started. So back in the day, when AccuQuilt first started, their dies were particularly their dies were one color foam. So like now we have the two-tone foam, but back then they were black foam. And it looks to me like the back of the board or the die was the same. It was this green board, but the foam was all black. So what quilters did back in the day is they would mark the edges of the die so that they would know where to place their fabric. And they would also know where the blades are in the die because it was all black foam and you could not see it. So you were at risk for cutting yourself. You were at risk for wasting more fabric. So they were marking them using various techniques. So I'm going to go over the techniques that I found that they were using and show you why in today's 2024 AccuQuilt landscape, it still may be a good idea to mark your dies. So the main reason why I may go ahead and mark most of my dies is because it does help you with minimizing fabric waste. A lot of people are opposed to the AccuQuilt cutting system because they feel like it just wastes a lot of fabric. But what I found in my experience is that if you subcut the fabric based on the dye that you're using, you minimize the waste. So that's the reason why you can mark your dyes today in today's era where there are two-tone foam dyes. I have some notes, y'all, so let me flip the page. All right, so let's go over some of the tools. I have traditional acrylic rulers. I have this long one. This is a, 6x24. And I also have a 6-inch acrylic square. I have, some of the quilters were using painter's tape. I'll show you that technique. And some of them were using Sharpies. I don't have the silver metallic Sharpie, which was the most recommended Sharpie. I just have all these colors. And so I don't have, today maybe I'll use pink and see how that goes, just because you want to create some contrast. The third marking implement that I found very helpful, and it is my favorite, is this. Hey, Beverly! Hey, nice to see you here. If you're just joining, Beverly, what I'm doing is I'm talking about why we would mark our AccuQuilt dies in today's day and age. And in back in the day, AccuQuilt was only making their dies in one color foam, which was black, made it very hard to visualize things. So bringing you up to speed on where we are in the live. So the third marking implement is I have this chalk marker, I guess. And so I'll show you how I use that. But this actually is my favorite tool because it's erasable. Sharpies are permanent. And if I make a mistake, I do not want to have this on my die. So let's see. I will sacrifice my dies so that you don't have to. I will show you the technique with the Sharpie. I'll show you the technique with the painter's tape and also the technique with the chalk. I have the Go Me, I have the Go Big, and I also have the Studio die. And when I purchased the Go Me and the Go Me and the Go Big, they came with dies. And I can't remember which came with what. I believe that this Flying Geese die came with the Go Big, and perhaps one or two of these dies, can't remember, came with the Go Me. So because I primarily use the cube system, these are like extra dies. So if I mess them up, I won't be too mad. So let me go ahead and get started. I just discovered today that I need a different camera angle. So I am going to show you how I do this, but you may not be able to see exactly. So I'll just hold it up to the camera so that you can see it, but I'll explain it. So for the first technique, basically, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but the dies are on the dies are designed to be cut with the lengthwise. Hey, Beverly again. Or Bettina, wait, where are you guys? You guys are in Tennessee, so what time is it there? 2 hours ahead of me. Thank you for joining me, whatever time it is where you are in Tennessee. So the dies are designed to have you place your fabric on the lengthwise grain. And so my girl Pam Heller over at AccuQuilt always says to put the label towards your belly, and then you take your fabric and you take the selvage edge and put the selvage edge on the die this way. And what that does is it allows the grain of fabric as it's going through the machine to minimize the stretching as it's cutting, and you get the most accurate cut. So let me show you how you can mark I'm just going to use this one, which is the 3-inch finished square die. So the dies now are 3 hours ahead. 3 hours ahead. Okay, thank you for joining, Bettina. So as you guys may know already, the two-tone foam is so that you know where to place your fabric as well as be aware of where the blades are. So if I press in here, there's a blade. So what I'm going to do, what I typically do is I take the die and I add a 1/4 inch on either side, and then I measure it. And then that's how I cut my strips of fabric. When I first got started on this journey, I purchased a lot, yards of motor grunge. And my silly self decided to cut all the yardage about the same width. So my logic was, at the time, my largest cube set was the 9-inch. So I took the largest or the widest diameter die from that set, and I measured it, and I just pre-cut all the strips. That was not a good idea. I'm so sorry I did that, because I have recently purchased a 12-inch cube and none of those pre-cut strips fit. So this is what those strips look like. I have a ton of them. So what I did, because I didn't know about the marking technique, is I literally just measured, and then I said, okay, I'm just going to add a 1/4 inch on either side and just pre-cut all of this strips. So they look like this. And there's about a 1/4 inch on this side and a 1/4 inch on this side. So the first technique would be to take your die, and for this little one, I can use the OmniGrid ruler or square. And I would just place it here. And then on this side, right here. It's about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to mark that side, and then I'll move it over and do the same thing on the other side. Now, here is a pro tip. If you decide to mark your dies, make sure that you mark them on, I guess, the label side towards your belly, because it'll remind you to place your fabric on the lengthwise grain. And so, in other words, this is the label, which will be facing my belly. So I'm going to mark this side, and not that side and that side. So if you mark from here to here, essentially you'll be putting your fabric in backwards and you'll get inaccurate cuts. But if you stick to this side and this side, the cuts will be accurate. So I am going to go ahead, and I won't be exactly precise because I'm live and I'm a little nervous, but I'll definitely go ahead and do the ballpark method. So I'm going to take painter's tape and simply just pull off some of it. And then let's make believe that the 1/4 inch is about here. And I'll go ahead and measure that out. So it's about there. So then label to my belly. And then I will just place that painter's tape on this side. And then I will do it for the other side. So it would look like this. Again, this is not perfect, but you get the idea. So the label part is here and my markings are on either side. And so the next step from here would be to measure the distance between the inside of this painter's tape all the way across here to the inside of this one. And so that measurement is, let me get a regular ruler, hang on. Actually, I like this one better. In the videos, I saw them using acrylic rulers, but this one gives me more confidence because it's a regular ruler and the 1/4 inch is there, and it's just easier. So I am going to put away these acrylic OmniGrid rulers. So again, this would be your lengthwise grain. The measurements are here. So what I'm going to do is measure from the inside of the blue tape to the other side. And that is about 4 inches and 3/4. Again, not exact, but close enough for what we're doing here. And the reason why that measurement is important, because at the top here, you can either in Sharpie write 4 inches, 4 3/4 of an inch, or you can take some painter's tape. Let me do that. And hang on, let me get a writing utensil. I didn't have a pen. Hang on. So on the back side, I'm just going to write 4 3/4 on the back side. So what this allows you to do is if you're in a hurry and you're like, okay, I want to go ahead, I have yardage and I want to go ahead and pre-cut the strips. You know that if you use the 4 3/4 inch measurement, that you will cover the die completely. And then you'll also have that 1/2 inch, because 1/4 times 2 is half. You'll have that width already in, and you won't have to be taking your ruler to go, oh, okay, I measure here. How much is it? It's just a rapid like, oh, 4 3/4 and pre-cut your strip. So that's technique number 1, using painter's tape. Technique number 2 would be to do the same measurement. So you take, again, this is towards my belly. You take your ruler, you place it on the edge there, and then you would measure 1/4 inch in, and then take your Sharpie, and I am going to sacrifice this die, and I'm going to use a pink. So hang on, let me draw that. How was you guys this weekend? Did you do anything fun? Oh, I do not like this, but I'll do it anyway. So you would do this way, and then you would do like this way. So here's the Sharpie method. So I just took my ruler, I've measured 1/4 of an inch. It's larger than 1/4 of an inch, but well, actually, is it? Yeah, it's a little bit larger, but this is just for demonstration purposes only. So I just measured a 1/2 an inch on either side and drew a line. Now, the benefit in using the Sharpie is that it is permanent. So I'm wiping here. It's dry. It's not coming off on my finger. So this is a permanent mark on your die. Same measurement. So you still can use the painter's tape method on the back and write that measurement, but this is permanent. The next method I'll show you is how I use. Oh, hey, Bettina. So Bettina stayed home, stayed in, and sewed. Lovely. I kind of did the same thing. I was at home thinking of what I would talk to you ladies about today, and I did do some sewing. And Vicky, we have been over 100 for weeks. Yes, it is hot. I'm done with summer. I'm not a summer girl. I prefer fall, winter, early spring. I do not like summer. I am in Southern California in the San Fernando Valley, which is probably 30 miles north of Los Angeles. And we typically get over 100. And it's been about, well, today we have a break. It's only going to be like 95. But yes, it is hot and I'm done with it. Let me show you my favorite method and why. So same concept. Here is the label. The label would be pointed towards my belly to ensure that lengthwise grain. Therefore, I'm going to draw my lines here. Now, one thing I will tell you is that you may notice that let's see, let me find a better example. Actually, here's a better example. So let's use this die. So this is the flying geese die. So I would have my label towards my belly. So if you notice this die, the shapes are not exactly in line with the die board. They're off kilter, I call it. And the reason why AccuQuilt does it that way is because they describe it as like when you drive over a speed bump, if you go directly over the speed bump, there's more impact to your tires or your car. So if you cut your fabric, if you cut the fabric straight on, there's more room for stretching and error. So they place the blades on kilter. So when you're drawing your lines, make sure that you are drawing your lines based on the position of the shape, not the die board. So it just so happens, actually, I did it correctly on this one. So if you look at this one, you can see that this line is slanted. So this is straight, but this line is slanted and this line is slanted. And the reason why I did that is because, again, you want to make sure that these lines are parallel to the blades because it's designed for you to cut on the lengthwise grain. So it's very easy when you have squares and have square triangles. Oops. But then when you get to a die like this, it becomes trickier. So let me show you with this one what the chalk method looks like. So for this one is a little trickier because there's two shapes on. So I am going to go ahead and do that technique and show you what that looks like. So here, and then there's 1/4 of an inch here. So I would go, and this one's I'm going to turn it towards me so that I can see better. This one is kind of going this way. So actually, oh, this side will work. So it's this way. I really love this chalk marking tool. I'm not sure where I bought it, probably Joann's, but I love it because it just rolls the chalk up very nicely. And I'm just going over a few ooh, that was wonky. A few times. Let me do this other side. Okay. So here you go. This side would be towards your belly. And here, this is a good line. And this is a wonky line. Now, if you happen to use this method and you rush through and you do what I did right here, let me show you how to fix it. I have some basic wipes, disinfectant wipes. So whatever brand that you use is fine. So I'm just going to pull one out and I am going to ta-da! I erased it. That's the beauty of using the chalk method is if you make a mistake like I just did, you just erase it. And then there's a little bit more here. And then you can see, let me show you. You can see the yellow chalk on the wipey. So it actually removed it. I'm going to a little bit more right here. A little harder. So again, here is what's left over as proof that it erased it. So you would just let this dry and it doesn't leave a permanent mark. So that's a beauty of using the chalk method. Let me show you a more complicated die and let's see if I can be successful in marking that one. So let's see, I have the circles die and this one is one of my least favorites only because patterns. I'm taking a course in September to learn. How to write patterns using AccuQuilt. And once I do that, I'll make some patterns for us to use with our AccuQuilt dies. But this probably will be a top priority for me to make a pattern out of because the pattern that AccuQuilt has is nice, but I'm bored with it and I kind of didn't like it. Tree says, I like the chalk. Yeah, I really like the chalk because of what just happened. I literally didn't do it on purpose, made that mistake, and it is erasable with the whitey. So if you're going to do it, recommend using chalk. You can also use one of the chalk pencils, but those bled more for me. I tried it out and it just wasn't as accurate. When I used the chalk pencil, it kind of gave me a thicker line like the Sharpie, and I wasn't a fan of it. Here is another die that's more complicated, but not. This is the 6-inch wonky heart die. And this one actually is pretty basic, and I'll draw the lines with the chalk so you can see what that looks like. So again, label or lengthwise grain towards my belly, which is this way. And let me draw that 1/4-inch line, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Let's see, this is about here. And then I just, again, you would want to draw your line based on the direction of the blades, not based on the direction of the die board. So let me show you. So I would do this, and I'm rolling it back and forth like 3 times. When I made that error, I was just going really fast because I'm impatient and that's what I do. I just go really fast sometimes and then I make mistakes. I need to learn to slow down. So let me show you. That's why I love AccuQuilt. Oh my stars, I am so not a rotary cutter for this very reason. I like to go fast. I'm heavy-handed, and rotary cutting to me is a delicate skill that I don't have, and I do not want to master it. So I am so grateful for the AccuQuilt cutting system because Without it, I would not be quilting because rotary cutting just ain't my jam. Okay, so I kind of did it wonkier because I wasn't a wonky line on a wonky heart die. I made a joke. So here we go. This is what it looks like. So on this side, this one again, I did not measure it exactly because I can just go ahead and erase it. So that's what this one looks like. And then this one here. So as you notice, again, my lines are kind of off kilter and they're not like straight on here. They're a little bit off because I'm going with the length of the blade versus the direction of the die. That was easy. Remember this button? I still have it. And all day yesterday, I was getting stuck on things and I was just kind of like, oh, and then I found it. And when I got stuck, I did. That was easy. And I was like, okay, I'm unstuck. I'm goofy, I know. Hey, Carolyn. No worries, you're here. You can watch from the beginning on the replay. Basically, Carolyn, what I'm talking about is I'm talking about the history of marking the AccuQuilt dies. And when AccuQuilt first started off as a company, they were making dies that were only one color in foam. So from what I understand from research, that foam was black. So the die board was essentially the same die board. It just had one color of black foam. So what that meant was you had no idea where to place your fabric, and quilters were at high risk for cutting their fingers because you kind of had to feel around for the blades to know where to place your fabric. So based on my research, in around September of 2011, AccuQuilt started making these two-tone color dies. And just recently, they started screen printing the letters and shapes on the die. So they're making it very easy for us to be successful. However, one of the main complaints about the AccuQuilt cutting system is that it wastes fabric. So my case or my argument for still marking your dies to some degree is so that you know exactly where to subcut your fabric. And so here I just used a chalk marking tool and I added a 1/4 inch on this side and a 1/4 inch on this side. And I drew the lines. And when you use a chalk implement, you can erase it using any type of sanitizing wipe. I have these ones. But as you can see, now you see the line. Where's the wonky one? Oh, here. Now you see the line, and this wipey is drying out. So let me get another one because I can do that. I have plenty of them. Let's see. So another trick is a fresher wipey will make sure that you minimize the residue that's left over when you wipe it off. So I'm just wiping. And as you can see, the mark is gone and it should dry without a problem. Where is my original one that I wiped? I want to show you guys how it dried. So this was the original one that I wiped, and there's a little residue. And if I wanted to be a perfectionist, I would just go over it again with another wipey. So you can do that actually. If you wipe it down the first time and then it dries and then there's some remaining residue, you would just use another fresh wipey and try it again. But I'm okay with this because it's not significant enough to deter me from using this die. And so this is what this one looks like after it's been erased. My quilting friends, late but you're here. I am so happy that you're here. Let's see. Okay, what else do I want to talk about? So we talked about the history of the AccuQuilt dies and that when they first started making them, they were using single color black foam. and the blades were not easily identifiable, so you didn't know where to place your fabric, and you were literally feeling around for the blades and potentially cutting yourself. September of 2011, as far as I can find, is when AccuQuilt started selling the two-tone foam dyes, which made it so much easier for us as quilters. A lot of the videos, again, that I saw in this marking process were to date 11 years old. I saw one that was 13 years old, where they were marking the dyes. But we no longer have that issue because they're making two-tone dyes. And if there are any of you out there that have those original dyes, like, comment and let me know, because those are like amazing, because it's a part of AccuQuilt history, because they don't make those anymore. So let's see. I have some notes. We talked about different. Oh, the other one I showed, Carolyn and Marge and Tree. I'm not sure. I can't keep. Tree says I can't keep the ruler from sliding on rotary cutting. Yes, Tree. The rotary cutting sliding thing, I mean, is totally not my jam. I did a video when I first started this channel about rotary cutting versus AccuQuilt. And boy, did the quilting police come for me. They came for me. And there was so much, like, all sorts of negative comments. And in my opinion, listen, this world is huge and we all have our own opinions. And so whatever works for you, fine. And we do things different ways. And I don't think it's necessary to tear someone down because they're doing something different than you. Just don't do it, because you have the power to choose. So Marge, Carolyn, and Tree, I'm not sure if you saw the demonstration I did with the painter's tape, so I'll just do it quickly again. Same concept. You always want to work with the label towards your belly to make sure that you're placing your fabric on the lengthwise grain. And you would just measure 1/4 inch from the blade to the right and left. And then you would just place that painter's tape there. And then you would just place it on the other side. And then your die would look like this. It would look neater like that. But let me see. There we go. It will look neater like this. And then on the back side, what you do is, once you get your measurements, whether you use the chalk implement or the Sharpie or the painter's tape, you would just measure. You take your ruler and you would measure from this side to this side. So you would, put it here and then here and then here. And this one is, now listen, I'm not good at this thing called math and reading these little lines on the ruler, but it's something like, let's see, what's between 4.5 and 4.75? Whatever that line is, that's what it is. And so I would probably just round this up to 4.75, because it's only a couple of eighths of an inch of fabric, which is not a huge amount of waste. So I would say this space is 4.75. And then I would take a piece of painter's tape and write the number on the back and just pop it on the back of that die. So when you go to use the die, if it's already marked, let's say this is the chalk one, it's already marked. You look on the back, you say, oh, I need to subcut my fabric strips to 4.35 or 4.75. You just use, now I do use a rotary cutter for that, of course, but that's a rough cut. And if I'm off a little bit, it doesn't matter. So I purchased, earlier on in my journey, I purchased a lot of grunge fabric, yards of it, and I pre-cut them in strips. And I'm sorry I did that, because now I'm stuck I now have the 9-inch cube system and the 12-inch cube system. And because I cut most of my grunge yardage to about this width, I can't use it in my 10-inch. But fear not, I've also purchased some Bella solids, and I purchased Kona solids. And so I will be using this marking technique on my dies so that I can just get accurate strips and minimize the wastage. Ladies, did you guys buy fabric from Amazon during Prime Day? Oh, as the Prime truck is driving by. I did. I found some fabric on Amazon. I decided I would try it out. Typically, I purchase my fabric from Fat Quarter Shop. I love Kimberly Jolly. I love everything she does on her channel, and I like her selection. But I was like, I'm going to make a couple of charity projects, and I do not want to make that large investment in fabric from Fat Quarter Shop. So I said, let me find some inexpensive fabric so that I can make these projects and not spend a ton of money. So during Prime Day, I purchased several bundles of, I think they were fat quarters. Yeah, several bundles of fat quarters. So I'll be using those in some upcoming projects. But yeah, my first time buying fabric. Now, I do notice the quality difference. It is a lot thinner. I did starch it, and it's thinner than quality fabric, but I kind of expected that. Okay. You like March. So yeah, you love the labeling. You find that you're constantly remeasuring it each time you use the dye. Yeah. I find I do that too. And again, since now that I have new fabric that I will not pre-cut all the yardage into strips, I'll have that challenge. Let me grab one of the dies from my 12-inch cube. I am not going to mark that one just yet because, well, I don't know. Let me look. Maybe I'll do it. Hang on. Let me grab it. So this is the Go Cube 12-inch. And the reason why I purchased the 12-inch is because I also have the 9, the 6, and the 4-inch cubes. And I can do simple math. And so I said to myself, well, 12 divided by 6 equals 2. So I could do like 2 6-inch. I don't know how that math is going to work. At any rate, 6 goes into 12, and Pam Heller said that they were compatible, so I bought it. I love Pam Heller, and I love Erica as well. I love the ladies over there. I watch the live shows most Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but not everyone, and they're amazing. But to be honest, it's a lot of promotions. I am so happy that they are coming up with new dyes every month, because that tells me that the business is healthy, and it tells me that if I'm making this investment, that this company will be around. But my main reason for starting this channel and starting to focus more on AccuQuilt products is that the tutorials that I find are not exactly 100% inspiring on all the time. And then when AccuQuilt does their lives on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, it's a lot of promotions. So once you buy the dye, yes, they do have free patterns, but yeah, we're going to do something about that here on this channel. So here is dye number 4, which is a humongous quarter square triangle. So in marking this one, again, I would put the ruler 1/4 inch on this side, 1/4 inch on that side. I will use my chalk implement to draw the line. And let me actually do that right now so that you can see it. Oh, Tree says the 12-inch cube would make a 9-inch block using the smaller. Okay. I knew there was some math of like 3s. I figured like I have, 3 divisible by 12 divisible by 9. Like it just kind of worked. So yes, thank you, Tree. for mentioning that, the 12 and the 9-inch. Yes, thank you. I don't know. I'm just addicted to these cubes. And so I may end up buying more. But I want to dip into the applique shapes. I don't have any of those. Do you guys have any applique shapes? And if so, what do you have? And do you have any bobs or block on boards? Like, what do you guys have? As I mark this, I wish I had some of that music of like do 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 do. Oh, copyright strike. Sorry, YouTube. Don't strike me. Don't strike me. Don't strike me. You guys know that if I put some sort of copyrighted content in my video, that YouTube will smack my hand. And I don't want that. So let's see. 1/4 inch here. And then I would do this. And because I'm using chalk, if this is not correct, I will just use my sanitizing wipe to erase it. But I think I did a pretty good job. A little wonky, but get the gist of it. So, well, maybe not, because this one looks wider. Here we go. So again, I am holding up this die flush to the table. So it's flat and I'm lifting it up. And as you can see, the shape is on an angle. And I made sure to draw my lines parallel to the blades and not parallel to the die board. And what I mean by that is, if I were just doing a 1/4 inch parallel to the die board, it would look like this. And this is not what you want. So you see this line here. This line is parallel to the die board, and that is not what you want. You want to make sure, again, label towards your belly and use the line to parallel the blades. Bettina, oh, wait. Oh, hang on. So Tree, you have the orange peel and the star applique. That sounds fun. Orange peel. Yeah, I've thought about that one. And the star, that's cool. Bettina has too many dies to mention. Okay, girl. Okay. All right. I may have to catch up to you. And Beverly says, I just have the cubes and strips, no applique dies yet. Okay. I do have several of the strip dies as well. When I purchased my strip dies, so, okay. Oh, Vicky, I have almost all the applique dies. Wow. That's what I got my AccuQuilt for Starving one. You're gonna, so Vicky says that she wants the new one coming in August. Vicky has a few bobs, and Vicky also has 2 complete sets of cubes, the 5 and the 10. That is awesome. I started investing in AccuQuilt products in 2020 during the pandemic, because that's when I started quilting. I fell in love with I think Santiago was like 105 years old. I purchased a Singer treadle machine and I resuscitated it. I gave it CPR and I gave it a heart transplant, and it's working. So I fell in love with that machine, and I am very woo-woo. And that machine is made of wood, metal, and it has a leather belt. And I was sitting there and I was teaching myself to treadle, and I'm like, what are you here for me to do with you? So I named him Santiago, and Santiago said he wanted to quilt. And so that's what I started doing. So I started in 2020. And again, very early on, realized I was not a rotary cutter and found AccuQuilt. So I think it was around 2020, like December of 2021, or was it December of 2022? I can't remember. But AccuQuilt, the parent company, was purchased by another company. And so they were having all these crazy sales. Like they were having studio dies that were 50% off. Like a lot of dies were 50% off for like a longer amount of time. Normally they'll have like a sale here and there, that's like 50%. But I distinctively remember those studio dies being like 50% off. And so I purchased a lot of my strip dies for my studio cutter. But I have the, let's see, let me check my notes to make sure I covered everything I wanted to discuss with you today. And I have. So let me know what you think as far as marking your dies. Any more comments? Yeah, let me know what you think. I think it's a good idea. It works for me. And again, who said that? Who said they have to remeasure? Let me look. Where did it go? Oh, Marge said that, you know, remeasuring every time is a waste of time. Well, she didn't say that, but it's a waste of time for me. So yes, remeasuring every time is a pain in the neck. So with this method, you can just measure it once, use a piece of painter's tape or however you want to write it on the back. And then when you pick up the die, you just look on the back and you say, oh, I just need to pre-cut the strip to la 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 and cut it and go. Let's see. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you, Vicky and Beverly and Bettina and Marge and Tea Tree. And wait a minute. Who else is here? Thank you, ladies, for showing up. My divas. Wait, what are we gonna call? What did we call ourselves? We said, was it? Oh, Hey, S. Lopez. I'm just wrapping up. I'll go over just really quickly what we covered. What did we say? We're dynamic quilting divas. That's what we said we would call ourselves. Yes, you'll be labeling all of your dies, March. You know, now that I'm talking out loud and now that I am doing this with you guys, I think I'll do it as well. This chalk marking implement. Oh, hey, you've been watching. Okay, hi. So this chalk marking implement, and I'm sure you can find them. I think I got this one from Joanne, but I'm sure that they're not. Oh, it's Clover. It's a Clover product. So you can find it anywhere. I'm pretty sure Amazon has it. So yes, I think I'm going to go ahead and mark all my dies as well. S. Lopez, thank you for commenting and showing up, and thank you for watching. I will commit to going live 11 a.m. on Sundays. So I'll do my best to upload a thumbnail a few days in advance, at least one day in advance, so that you know what the topic is. The replays are always available as soon as I click get out of here or stop this in stream. It'll be immediately live on YouTube for the replay. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited. This is live number 2, and I will see you next Sunday for live number 3. I don't know what I'm going to be covering yet because I haven't figured it out, but stay tuned. Thank you. Bye-bye.